As a liveaboard cruiser, there is absolutely no doubt that Starlink has revolutionized the way that we access the internet. But with the ever-changing plans, dishes, and all of that, it can become a little confusing to understand how exactly Starlink works for boats. So that's what I'm going to run you through. We have had Starlink on our boat for a few years now and gone through various changes in that time. We've used it on land in the shipyard, like where I am right now, offshore between islands, and in various anchorages across the Caribbean. So what I'm going to do is run you through the main things you need to know, including the dishes, the plans, and what this system actually costs, and where it is that you can save some money. In essence, Starlink is a constellation of satellites up there in space that provide us with high-speed internet. It works anywhere in the world, provided that you have the right plan. So as a cruiser, that's invaluable. My internet can be as fast in the middle of the Pacific Ocean as it is right here on a hard stand in Trinidad and Tobago. The first step to getting the Starlink satellite internet on your boat is to get a dish. And you have kind of three ways to get a dish. First of all, you can buy them directly from the Starlink website. Second, you can buy them from an authorized reseller, a business like West Marine, who are able to do this. The benefit of that is sometimes these companies have sales where you can benefit from a cheaper dish. And then the third way is to buy a dish secondhand. Obviously, secondhand, you have the opportunity to save some money, but just really be careful because there have been problems in the last couple of years with scammers pretending to sell dishes, getting the money, and then disappearing. At any one time, Starlink will have a couple of dishes available. At the time I'm putting this video up, there are 4 that are generally available. There is the Starlink standard dish, which is more for residential use, but people do use them on a boat. You have the Starlink mini dish, which is smaller. It's designed to be portable, and it's something that a lot of people on boats are starting to install. It's what we currently run on our Leopard 45. And one of the biggest factors for that was the power. We save a lot of power by using this dish, and it's also natively DC. You then have the performance dishes. So at the moment they have the Generation 2 and 3 dishes available. So these dishes are bigger and they are designed to operate in harsher, more remote environments. Once you have a dish, that dish then needs to be connected to a Starlink plan, and these plans do run through Starlink directly. There are sort of 3 categories of plan to know about as a boater, one of which we can immediately throw out the window, and that is Starlink Residential. It's one you're going to see on their website, and it has no relevance for us because it's geo-locked, and as sailors, we're always on the move. So that brings us straight to the second category, which is Starlink Roam, and this is the one that most of the cruisers I've met and we use aboard our boats. Starlink Roam is designed for people who are on the move. So it could be us with our boats, it could be van lifers, it could be digital nomads, it could just be people who travel with their dish between their home and other places. The beauty of this plan as a cruiser is that it supports data for coastal and inland cruising, with the option to get data for offshore cruising as well. Within the Starlink Roam plan, there are 2 at the moment. One is Roam Unlimited, which gives you unlimited data, and the other one is Roam 100 gigabytes. Now, until I'm going to say last week, that was actually a 50 gigabyte plan. They've just upgraded it and not changed the price. So kind of a win there. If you are on the Starlink Roam plan, what you get access to is countrywide coverage within your country of registration, in-motion use regardless of the hardware, international travel in available markets for up to 2 months, which we're going to talk about, and you can opt in to ocean mode for coverage beyond 10 to 12 nautical miles. In regard to the 2-month rule, because it is something you will see in the terms and conditions, the reports that we're getting from across the cruising community is that this 2-month rule is only being applied when you spend 2 months in a country that is not currently authorized to have Starlink connectivity. For example, we have been here in Trinidad and Tobago for far more than 2 months with our dish, which is not registered to this location, and we've had absolutely no problem with connectivity, but then Trinidad and Tobago is a country that has approved the use of Starlink. Other countries further up the Caribbean island chain, I'm going to say Grenada, I'll correct myself if I was wrong, they have not approved Starlink. So after 2 months there, people are finding that their dishes are being shut off. with the offshore data that I mentioned on the roam plan, this is an opt-in, opt-out thing. So you go onto your Starlink app on your phone and you will find a setting that's called ocean mode. When you toggle this on, you will have access to data out in the middle of the ocean. Now, the main thing to know about this switch is you have to turn it on before you lose internet. So we usually turn ours on when we're about to go past sort of 5-6 nautical miles, just to be safe. And then after this point, our internet usage is charged per gigabyte. So that's the roam plan in a nutshell. And again, that is the one that most cruisers will be using. There is then an option for Starlink for maritime, which used to be called Starlink for boat, but they've changed the marketing. And these days, this plan is actually more geared towards commercial vessels, you know, fishing boats, cruise ships, that sort of thing. And this plan gives you access to priority data that works anywhere in the world. The thing is, it's very, very expensive. What these plans do is they give you a set amount of priority data, and those allotments at the moment are 50 gig, 500 gig, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes. And then you can purchase extra data on top of that. But again, this is a very expensive option, so it's not used by a lot of liveaboard cruisers. Most are on that roam plan. Now let's jump on to what it actually costs to have Starlink on your boat. And there's 3 components to this: what dish you choose, what plan you choose, and what your service address is. And that service address, that is the key to how much you're going to be charged. Starting with the dishes. The dishes, each dish is priced differently, and these prices do fluctuate. Until very recently, the Starlink Mini was more expensive than the Starlink Standard in a lot of countries, and that just seems to have switched. And the prices for the dishes, they vary between countries. When I was making this video, I went through and checked a bunch of different countries. This is what they were charging for the standard dish and the mini dish. And by converting it to US dollars, you can see there is a huge difference in what's being charged. Add on to that variations with sales, especially with resellers like West Marine, and you can see that it's definitely worth checking this. For us, when we bought the Starlink mini dish, I had a look at all the countries that I knew we were going to be in over the next few months cruising around the Caribbean, had a look at the cost for the dish, had a look at the cost for the plans, and ended up selecting which island we would use as our registered address based on that. So as well as the price for the dish changing depending on where you are, the price for the plan changes depending on where you are as well. And again, there is quite a difference in some areas. Because roam is the most common cruising plan, I went through and I checked the prices for the Roam 100 and Roam Unlimited plans in a number of different countries, and this is what it came out as. As you can see, if you're American, you are paying a lot more than some of the other regions in the world. Something important to know here about your Starlink account is that, and I don't know why this is still the case, but you can switch your Starlink to different plans, but you can't change your service address. You still have to go through the process of transferring the dish to a new account. So this is just something to keep in mind when you're figuring out how much your dish is going to cost you. On our website, there is actually a blog. I'm going to throw the link down in the description, which I frequently update every time Starlink comes out with a different rule, a different plan, or they change up the pricing. So if you want to see what it is at the moment, you can always jump there. Again, links in the description. But that's the basic outline of what Starlink on boats is like, what it costs. Personally, I find the system to be invaluable. When we first started cruising, Starlink on a boat wasn't really feasible. People had it on a house, but on the boat, we were still trying to get local SIM cards, use Wi-Fi boosters, use 4G boosters. It is not even comparable to the speed, the reliability of Starlink. When people in the yachting community, myself included, say that Starlink has been a game changer, it's not an exaggeration. We use it for entertainment. We use it for work to earn money. We use it to manage all of the logistics of our lives. We use it for communication, for navigation. It is an invaluable system. So if it is something that you're seriously considering installing on your boat, I would say, in my opinion, it is absolutely worth it, especially if you are planning to be spending a significant amount of time aboard your vessel.